The spotlight found him, a single lonely beam cutting through the velvet darkness of the nightclub. He stood still, a microphone clutched in his hand, a figure of effortless elegance in a perfectly tailored suit. When he opened his mouth, a sound poured out that was pure silk, a voice that could melt glaciers and break hearts with equal ease. It was a sound that was both sacred and profane, a voice honed in the hallowed halls of the church and refined in the smoky, late-night clubs of the city. This was Sam Cooke, the man with the golden voice, a trailblazer who not only wrote the book on soul music, but also dared to own the entire library. He was a pop star, a sex symbol, and a shrewd businessman who envisioned a world where black artists controlled their own destiny. But beneath the polished veneer, behind that charming, easy smile, was a man in constant motion, a restless soul who would ultimately fall victim to the very darkness he tried so hard to escape. The story of Sam Cooke is a song of triumphs, a symphony of love and loss, and a final tragic note that left a lingering question mark on a life that ended far too soon. Born in Clarksdale, Mississippi in 1931, the seventh of 8 children to a Baptist minister, Charles Cooke, Sam's life was steeped in gospel music from the very beginning. His family moved to Chicago's South Side when he was just a toddler, a move that placed him at the epicenter of the gospel music scene. The church was not just a place of worship for the Cooke family, it was the foundation of their lives, and young Sam found his calling there. He and his siblings formed a gospel group, the Singing Children, performing in churches across the city. Sam's voice, even then, was something special, a voice so pure and effortless that it seemed to be a gift from God himself. His sister, Elsie Cooke, would later recall, "Even as a little boy, you could hear it." He had a voice that just had to be heard. His teenage years were marked by a pivotal turning point when he joined the legendary gospel group, the Soul Stirrers, replacing their lead singer, R.H. Harris. This was the big leagues of gospel, and Sam Cooke, now a star in his own right, quickly became a sensation. His smooth, soaring vocals turned the Soul Stirrers into the most popular group of the era, their records selling in the millions. But even in the world of gospel, Sam had bigger dreams, a restless ambition that saw beyond the confines of the church. The transition from gospel to pop music in the late 1950s was a move that was both brave and controversial. In the tightly knit world of gospel music, singing the devil's music was a cardinal sin, an act of betrayal. When he released his first pop song, You Send Me, under the alias Dale Cooke to avoid backlash, he was essentially excommunicated from the church community that had raised him. But the song was an instant, undeniable smash, rocketing to the top of the charts in both the R&B and pop categories. His alias was quickly dropped, and the world was introduced to Sam Cooke, a romantic superstar with a voice as intoxicating as the sweetest wine. This was an unprecedented move for a black gospel singer, but it was a risk that paid off. He was no longer just a gospel star, he was a pop icon who was appealing to a wider, more diverse audience. He wasn't just a singer, he was a revolutionary. He was charting a course that artists like Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, and Al Green would follow, proving that the soulful power of the church could be fused with the seductive melodies of pop to create something new and lasting. Sam's life, both on and off stage, was a whirlwind of passion and scandal. His romantic life was as complex as his career. He was first married to his childhood sweetheart, Dolores Mohawk, a relationship that was cut short by his skyrocketing fame and her untimely death in a car accident. He then married his second wife, Barbara Campbell, a union that was plagued by infidelity and profound heartache. It was a marriage that was never truly happy, a constant source of emotional turmoil for both of them. But it was his high-profile extramarital affairs and a reputation as a playboy that garnered him the most attention from the press. He was a handsome man with a magnetic personality, a smooth operator who was unapologetically and openly flirtatious. This public persona, however, hid a man who was deeply committed to his children and his family. He was a man who wanted it all. a man who believed he could have a thriving career, a loving family, and a life of unapologetic pleasure. The contradiction was at the heart of his identity, the sacred versus the profane, the devout family man versus the womanizing superstar. The height of his fame saw Sam Cooke at his most powerful and ambitious. He wasn't content just to sing the songs, he wanted to own them, to own the very industry that had once been so resistant to him. In a groundbreaking move, he founded his own record label, SAR Records, and his own publishing company, a decision that gave him unprecedented control over his career and his finances. He was a businessman first, his friend and legendary record producer Jerry Butler would later recall. He didn't just want the money, he wanted the power, the control over his art. He wanted to make sure that the artists who came after him wouldn't get cheated the way his generation had been. This was a revolutionary act for a black artist in the 1960s, a time when black musicians were routinely exploited and denied ownership of their intellectual property. Sam Cooke was not just a singer. He was a pioneer of the civil rights movement in a way that was as powerful as any protest march. He used his platform, his fame, and his intellect to dismantle the racist structures of the music industry from the inside out. Despite his immense success and his relentless pursuit of control, Sam was a man who was perpetually at war with himself. The pressures of his career, the constant touring, the struggles of his personal life, and the heavy burden of being a role model for an entire generation weighed on him. The tragic drowning death of his infant son Vincent in 1963 was a devastating blow from which he never truly recovered. It was a loss that shattered his world, a pain so profound it seeped into his music. His masterpiece, the civil rights anthem, "A Change Is Gonna Come," was a song born from that grief, a soulful cry for hope and justice in a world that felt hopeless and unjust. It was a song that was both deeply personal and profoundly political, a testament to his ability to find a voice for his own pain and, in doing so, give voice to the suffering of an entire nation. The song, however, was never a huge commercial success during his lifetime. The record executives, afraid of the political message, buried it as a B-side. It would take his death for the world to fully understand the power and the importance of this timeless anthem. The end came swiftly and brutally, a final jarring chord in a life that had been a beautiful melody. On the night of December 11, 1964, Sam Cooke was shot and killed at a seedy Los Angeles motel. The official story, told by the motel manager, Bertha Franklin, was that he had broken into her office, demanded money, and assaulted her. She claimed she shot him in self-defense, a story that the police and the courts quickly accepted as truth. But the details were murky, contradictory, and deeply unsettling. Sam was found wearing only a sport coat and one shoe, and his money was missing. The woman he was with that night, Elisa Boyer, a woman with a history of prostitution, claimed he had kidnapped her, a claim that was later discredited. His friends and family, including legendary singer Etta James, who saw his body, refused to believe the official story. "Sam was not the type of person who would just go crazy like that," she said in a later interview. "There was no way the story they told was true." The circumstances surrounding his death were a murky, tragic mystery that left behind a trail of unanswered questions, fueling a legend that would grow in the years to come. The news of Sam Cooke's death was a shockwave that reverberated through the Black community and the music world. The man who had been a symbol of hope and progress was gone. His funeral was a massive, tear-filled affair, with thousands of people pouring into the streets to say goodbye. The grief was immense, a collective mourning for a star who had burned so brightly and was extinguished so suddenly. But in the years that followed, his legacy only grew. "A Change Is Gonna Come" was re-released and became the iconic anthem it was always meant to be, a soaring testament to the civil rights movement and a powerful symbol of hope in the face of despair. The mystique surrounding his death only added to his legend. He became a tragic figure, a martyr for his art and his people, a man who had dared to dream bigger than anyone else in his time. In the end, the story of Sam Cooke is not just a story about a singer. It is a story about ambition, struggle, and the price of greatness. He was a man who was unafraid to blur the lines, to bring the sacred to the profane, and to demand a seat at the table that had never been offered to him. His voice, once a beautiful sound heard in a small Chicago church, became the voice of a generation, a symbol of hope, and a cry for change. His life was a testament to the power of one man's vision, a life that was a beautiful, soaring melody cut tragically short. But the song never truly ended. It continues to play, an immortal sound that reminds us of a time when one man dared to dream of a world where a change was going to come.